Hello and welcome to my podcast series. Many of you will know me as someone who helps people to transform lives and teaches people how to self-heal. Through my own personal awakening journey, I have managed to get to the point where I now lead a life of complete abundance. And I think I've redefined what abundance actually means. My own personal journey to awakening seems to be of great interest to my clients, and I know that it's of interest to anybody who's trying to embark on their own personal journey to awakening. I'm just hoping that this series will help you to understand what it means to go on a journey of self-discovery, how you can find your purpose through this journey itself, how you can overcome some of the difficulties along the way, and how you can reach the point where you too are living a life of full richness and abundance, a life that you love, that you look forward to on a daily basis. This is my podcast series. It's a journey to awakening. This is episode 1. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope to see you in the rest of the series too.
We're here to talk about your journey to awakening. How did that start?
God, that's a big question. How did my journey to awakening start? Well, you know, if I think of my life at the time, I was around 46, 40, I think it was about 47 or something like that. And I just had everything I wanted. I've always really loved my life, to be honest with you. I had everything I wanted, you know, from the outside looking in, my life was kind of idyllic, really. And from the inside looking out, my life was idyllic too. So, you know, I had a really nice house, a wonderful husband, 3 beautiful boys, 2 stepsons and 1 biological son. We had a house abroad, you know, a property abroad that we used to go to in the summer. Basically had everything I wanted. I was able to be at home looking after my son, which is what I really wanted to do. I wanted to be able to raise my son. And I always considered myself lucky that I was able to stop work and do that. It is true that, you know, I kind of went from Prada to Primark overnight, but it didn't bother me. I was just really happy. I really was a happy, stay-at-home mum, enjoying life. I felt like I was living a life of abundance. I really did. And to some extent, I always have throughout my entire life. And then I just wasn't. One day I woke up and I felt completely disconnected from who I was. Just totally and utterly disconnected. I felt so low. I didn't feel like myself. I wondered where I'd gone, if I'm honest with you. It didn't feel like me. I felt awful. And I felt so low. I can't even begin to describe how that feels.
So do you know what triggered that, or when was that in your life? How did that come about?
I had no idea what triggered it at the time. When I started to look back upon it, I did think it was related to menopause, my time of life. The year before, I'd gone through a subtotal hysterectomy because I'd had some issues. And I think that kind of catapulted me into menopause, but I didn't really notice it right away, if I'm honest. I do remember that I started feeling differently. I started taking offence more when other people made comments or people behaved in a way that I didn't like. I started to take offence to that, where I hadn't done previously. And I did notice that on the lead up to this awful, dark day. But not much else. So I guess you could attribute it to menopause because what came after was a full-blown menopausal experience that was horrendous in every sense of the word. I didn't deal with that very well at all.
So how did that manifest to you? What was that experience?
Well, it started with that darkness, that dark day, and I was thankful every day for our son because he was young. I felt awful as a mother. I didn't feel like I was being a very good mother at all. But what I was doing is providing for him and making sure he got to school. And, you know, I was doing all of the necessary stuff. But what I wasn't doing is playing with him, taking time to be with him. I just wasn't doing any of that. And I kind of take him to school in the morning and then come home and lie on the sofa. I just didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to sleep. And I didn't have the will to do anything.
So take us forward from there. How long did that go on for, and what did you do? How did you kind of get out of that?
I don't know. For me, it felt like a really long time. It could have been months. I mean, I don't know if you remember, like every day when you came home from work, I'd be lying on the sofa. I don't know how long you felt that went on for. For me, it certainly went on for what I'd say at least 6 to 8 months, I think.
I think so. It was a difficult time.
It was hard. Yeah, it must have been hard for you as well to come in and see me lying on the sofa all the time. And I honestly did just the very basics. I did the basic amount of housework, the basic amount of whatever would get us through the day. And it took all my might to actually do that. I think one day you and I sat down, didn't we, and said, what can we do? I don't even know how this fell on my lap, but it did. There was a company, I don't know what the name is called now. They're based in Utah. They were called something else, but now I think they're called Awakenings or something like that. And I don't know how, but I got a phone call from them. I must have filled something in online. I must have done. I don't remember doing it. But I remember receiving a phone call and they said, I burst into tears during the phone call. It was a really nice chap called Jim that spoke to me. And I burst into tears and I said, I feel so guilty because I've got such an amazing life, such a beautiful family, a beautiful home, a lovely lifestyle. And I'm just so unhappy and I don't know why. And I did actually feel really, really guilty. And then Jim said that I should speak to you and see if we could do something like some sort of course to get me back on track. To be honest, I didn't even know what the course would be, but I was desperate. Honestly, at that point, if the doctor had said to me, if you eat your own feces for a week, you'd feel better, I think I would have done it. I was that desperate. I just wanted to feel myself again, like myself again. So I talked to you and we ended up talking to that guy together, didn't we? That he was such a nice man.
We did.
And we signed up to a course, which at the time it wasn't cheap. It was a couple of £1,000s or something. And I do really respect you for that, because you would just go along with anything that would make me feel better, and I do admire that. So we signed up to that course, and I remember whilst we were doing that course, because I think you did it with me, like I really did need help, and you were there for that. And I remember him saying something like, is there anything else that's your passion? What's your passion, or what are you interested in, or are you interested in doing any other types of course? I can't remember how it came about, but we did remember at that point that years ago, you and I, whilst I was still working in corporate, this was before we even had Rafi. And I don't even know how we did that. You and I decided we were going to do a level 1 Reiki course over a weekend, and we did it, and we thought, well, that was really interesting, and we kind of liked that. You always liked massage and chiropractic type stuff. You were always interested in anatomy and physiology, and so we were interested then to look at something outside of conventional Western medicine. So we thought, oh, well, it's really popular in the East, so let's have a look. And we did a level 1 Reiki course, and we quite enjoyed it. It was quite interesting. We quite enjoyed it. And then I remember when I was pregnant with Rafi, I went to do level 2 Reiki with the same person. And I loved it. And that meant then that I was able to treat other people. And I thought, well, that's fantastic, because I'm going to give up work and, be at home with my son. And this will be a business that I can do part-time and introduce it whenever I want to. So that was the idea around that. But the reality was that, I had a young son and an aging mother who wasn't very well, and, aging parents, basically, my mum, your dad, who needed a bit of help. So primarily my mum, actually. So raising a baby when you're looking after a mum that needs help as well is challenging enough. So there wasn't really any time for that, small business at home. So I just focused on my family, and I was happy. Everything was wonderful. I didn't really think about the Reiki again. I don't remember doing Reiki on myself, apart from initially. I don't think I did it at all.
So tell me a bit more about Reiki and your experience of that. What was that treatment like? What's the process?
So Reiki's a hands-on healing treatment, and I think you remember that during the course you're given a series of symbols that you're supposed to use, and you put intention into your healing, and then you lay your hands on, and it's designed to align the energy centers of your body, otherwise known as chakras. I didn't really know hardly anything about chakras, to be honest. I do know that when I did Reiki, I felt a lot better. I certainly felt more centered, and I slept a lot better. But sleeping was never an issue for me until I hit that depression and that menopausal stage anyway. So I remember talking to our coach about it once we'd signed up to that program, and I said, "Oh, we did Reiki. I quite enjoyed that." And she said, "Why don't you try that again?" I mean, it literally was as basic as that. And I said, "Oh yeah, I could give that a go." So I decided to start doing Reiki on myself, just quietly sitting at home in my depression, thinking, "Oh, I'll try that." And I started doing it, and each day I felt a bit better, and each day I felt more capable, like I was able to get on top of my life again, on top of the house again. And because I had kind of abandoned quite a lot, like there was a lot going on, and each day I just felt a little bit better.
And I think others started to notice that as well. I mean, I did. And I think some of your friends commented as well, didn't they?
Oh yeah, so that was really interesting. A few of my friends came round for coffee. People would pop in for coffee now and again. And one of my friends said to me, "Oh my God, you seem so much better." There were a few instances, but the two that really stick out is one of my friends said, "Oh my God, you seem so much better. You really do. Would you mind doing it on me one day?" I said, "Yeah, sure, why not? Like, this is why wouldn't you?" So I said, "Yeah, sure." Like, I didn't have anywhere to do it, so I had a sun lounger that I used to keep in the cupboard. I used to lie in the garden on it in the summer, and I thought, well, I'll get the sun lounger out and a little footstool or something, and I'll be able to do the Reiki on her in the lounge. So we'd arranged a date for her to come back, and she came, and I did a Reiki on her, and she absolutely loved it. And she went away. I didn't think anything else of it. And then I carried on doing some healing on myself. And I started meditating on myself. And I started seeing sort of colours and images, and like just behind my eyes, like in my mind, I started seeing colours and strange images. But I didn't really think much of it.
When you say I on yourself like that, what were you doing?
So,
what was that?
Yeah, so I'd never meditated before, and at the time I didn't really consider it meditating. I did, but I didn't. It was just this is my time. I'm going to focus on healing myself. I'm going to not think about anything else that needs doing, and just this time is for me to heal. So I guess that's a big intention, and I went very quiet. For me, the taking my attention inwards required me to close my mouth, like just breathe through my nose. I don't know why, but that's always been a thing. Probably because I talk too much, and I think closing my mouth then brings me into the present moment.
I didn't say that.
It's true. But for me it was just like, I'm going to close my mouth, just breathe slowly through my nose, and just really focus on feeling the energy and seeing what happens. Maybe now, looking back, I think it's the not having any expectations that really helped that grow for me. But I honestly didn't know what meditation was. In fact, if you'd asked me when I was still working in corporate to go and meditate, I would have used some very choice language and told you to just go away, and I haven't got time for that nonsense. Don't be ridiculous. I mean, I really was one of those people that even thought that monks were just work shy people that were lazy and didn't really want to do any work, and that's why I decided to be monks. That's the kind of person I was. I was very focused on, you've got to work hard to get what you want. I've done a complete 360 on that. You learn so much about yourself. But I digress. Where was I?
So I think we were on the healing process, and you were healing yourself, and then others noticed, and you started on a friend.
Oh, yeah. So I'd done that healing on that friend. She loved it. And she said, can I come again? I said, yeah, come back in, I don't know, 10 days or whatever. And in the meantime, other friends had said, oh, that sounds really good. Will you do it on me? And I did it on them, not loads, like maybe 2 or 3 friends. And then 2 things happened that were, I could say, really turned things around for me. One was the original friend then came back, and her father had passed away recently, and she just felt a bit rubbish. So she said, will you do one of those healings on me? Because I felt so much better last time and I feel really rubbish at the moment. So I'd really like a healing. I said, yeah, sure. And bearing in mind, I didn't know her dad. I'd never met him. So I did this Reiki on her. And I said, so you know what? I've started meditating when I'm doing mine. I think I'll meditate while I'm doing yours. So no talking. My eyes will be closed. I need to sit on the stool because I don't want to fall over. It's still on my sun lounge. It's still on the sun lounger in the middle of the lounge. I said, I just need to... I'm going to be really quiet, you be really quiet, and I'll just do it in a meditative state. So I did. And that was a major turning point for me, because during the healing, I saw very clear images, really clear. I almost felt like Bill Nighy was in the room. So I was performing this Reiki session.
The actor, Bill Nighy.
Yeah, the actor Bill Nighy.
Why do you say that? Why was he in the room?
Because the man I was seeing looked like him.
Oh, okay.
So like a lot like him, and not did he just look like him. His to me, he felt like he spoke like him. Like, I don't even know how to describe it, because you receive information. At the time, I didn't realise this, but you receive a knowing. You know stuff about what you're seeing. You don't know why you know it, but you know it. So I knew that this man that I was seeing not only looked like Bill Nighy, but sounded like Bill Nighy and was very much like that actor. Obviously, I don't know what the real man Bill Nighy is like, but the films that he's done, his style of acting,
his character,
yeah. And I thought, oh, this is really weird. What's this? So I still kept quiet, and within my head and inside my head, kind of telepathically said, who are you and what are you doing here? What was really interesting is that my dad had a job at St George's College in Weybridge, and I was raised there. We had a house in the grounds, and we were raised there. Me and my sisters were raised in that house. And I used to play in the woods and along by the river. There was a massive willow tree that we used to swing from, and I quite often used to go and sit by the river, but under the willow tree, and I just used to love being in nature. So I quite often used to sit there, and this man appeared to me right there in that spot, and I thought, this is just so bizarre. This is so bizarre. This guy who looks and sounds like Bill Nighy is standing in St George's College by the willow tree, by the river where I used to play. What's he doing here?
And this is all happening whilst you're doing the treatment?
This is all happening whilst I'm doing the treatment. And I said to him, so who are you and why are you here? And he gave me the letter H, but it was the size of a rugby goal. It was enormous, and he almost sort of picked it up and placed it across the river. It sounds bonkers, but I just have to describe the image that I saw, and I thought, why is he giving me that? And I knew it wasn't a rugby goal. I knew it was the letter H, but huge. And that's all he did. And then he waved goodbye and left me, and I carried on with the healing. And then at the end, I thought, I don't know whether I should tell her this. Like, she's going to think I'm mad. So at the end of the healing, I said, listen, she said, oh my God, that was so powerful. She said, I feel really emotional. I feel really, really emotional. I almost felt like there were other people in the room, she said. And I said, I saw quite a few things. Do you want me to tell you what I saw? I said, it is going to sound mad, but do you want me to tell you? She said, yeah, tell me. So I said, well, I was in St George's College. I said, I don't know whether you know, but I was brought up in St George's College. We used to live there. And I was by the river where I used to play next to the willow tree. And the man, I said, do you know Bill Nighy, the actor? This man that looked like Bill Nighy just came to talk to me. And she went, oh! And I said, oh, what's wrong? She said, that's my dad. And I said, what do you mean that's your dad? She said, my dad was just like Bill Nighy. I said, did he speak like him as well? She said, yeah. I said, but what was he doing at St George's College? She said, he was an old Georgian. He went to that school.
Oh,
it gives me goosebumps just talking about it. Every time I tell this story, I get goosebumps.
What did she think? I bet she got
She was
goosebumps.
so then I said, oh my God, like it's giving me goosebumps. But I carried her. She said, what else did you see? What else did you see? And I said, well, when I asked him what he was doing here, who was he and what's he doing here, he didn't tell me, but he gave me the letter H, but it was massive, like massive, the size of a rugby goal. And she started crying. And I said, what's wrong? And she said, he used to call my son Big H.
Oh,
So, I mean, of course I knew her son, but I didn't know her dad, and I didn't know he called her son Big H.
weird.
So I thought, wow, like I was in awe of that. And now I knew that, I mean, what really made me laugh is I thought, bloody hell, no wonder people meditate if this is what you get. I had no idea that you could see that much. So what's really interesting is all through my life, I have felt very protected. And I always used to say, I've told several people this, that I always know that I'm going to be okay. I've always said it to you, haven't I? I know that I always know that we're going to be okay no matter what. Because I've got a magic button and I just put my hand on my chest and I immediately feel better. So in a way, I've always been quite connected, but I've not related it to meditation or anything like that.
But that's crazy.
It's
Kind of what you're saying.
really
For
crazy.
the uninitiated, that is wild.
Well, really crazy, because it didn't make any sense to me, and it's and how incredible that he went to the school that I lived in.
And some people might say that's just coincidence or whatever.
Yeah, I think we all believe what we're comfortable believing, and so, you know, some will say it's just coincidence. There's too much coincidence there, isn't there?
But you'd never met her dad.
I'd never met her dad, so I knew her. She was my friend. Our children went to school together. Our children were really good friends, but I'd never met her dad. Like you don't really, do you? Like you meet someone at the school gates, you're friendly with them because your children are friendly, and you become friends, but you don't know everything about them.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please like and subscribe, as it really helps me to bring you more free content. Also, if you'd like to know more about my work and what I do, you can check out my website, www.lifeforcefield.com. All of my links are in the description to this video.